PSG have done it again. Back to back Champions League winners, putting him in the stratosphere of Real Madrid, of the only team in modern football history to go back to back Champions League winners. The next up from that is, can they do the three-peat? But that's for another season. Let's talk about yesterday's game. Starting off early in the game, Kai Havertz, off a deflection from a Marquinhos clearance. Kai Havertz in on goal. A man that's already scored in Champions League final before puts the ball in such a great area where the goalkeeper can't do anything. To 1-0 Arsenal. And from that moment on, you're thinking, oh, Arsenal have came into the game on the front foot, and they've scored 5 minutes in against PSG. But now everything after this goal is where Arsenal kind of falls behind, right? In the moments after that goal, that first half of the game, Arsenal looked a lot more poised, in my opinion, to score than PSG. It was the defensive play that they were showing, right? One sec. This is how both teams set up in the game, right? But this is how Arsenal decided to set up on the defensive side. Arsenal played kind of this 2-4-4 defensively, right? When Kvaratskhelia or Desiree Doué do have the ball in these wide positions, it's Mascaro man marking and Saka kind of shading him out, right? Where he can't really get a ball back into Nuno Mendes. And Arsenal realized that off the Bayern game and off other games watching PSG, that PSG love isolating fullbacks in these wide areas to get these one-on-one places where Declan Rice has to guard him, or he has to man mark him, right? And then these two have to man mark them boots, right? And all these midfielders are kind of just sitting in the space. Pacho and Marquinhos at the halfway line, and Hakimi's here, right? Arsenal said, "Forget that. We're not gonna go. We're not gonna go wide and go and guard PSG out wide. We're not gonna do that. No, what we're gonna do? We're gonna double up on every winger. Every single winger had two or three people either looking at them or marking them at every time, right? And and one thing about PSG that makes them a great team is the frequency of runs between Fabian Ruiz, between Vitinha, between Kawhi Neves to get into the box, right? Arsenal said, okay, cool. If they do flick the ball out into Dembele here, Declan Rice, wherever a midfielder comes in on this side, tag him. If he's here, if he's here, if he's here, they always tag him. Odegaard even drops in to tag him to make this pass, even though this pass can get out, even though this pass can get to Fabian Ruiz or even Bradley Barcola, whoever comes in, Saliba steps, Declan Rice steps, Odegaard steps, and now it's a 3v1, and to get a shot off onto David Raya, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible, right? And Arsenal said that was our game plan. That was Arsenal's game plan for today. We're going to man mark them like how they have in big games against City, against other big teams. We're going to man mark them. We're going to nullify the best attacking trio, arguably in English football, not English football, in European football, and there's nothing they can do about it. And on that side of the pitch, on that side of the game, Arsenal played their tactic and their game plan to perfect aspect. Right? If you asked Arteta about this game plan at, at the beginning of the game, he would say, "Yes, this is exactly what we wanted to do. We nullified PSG to have them score zero open play goals. He did everything he wanted to do." But then here is my conflict of it. And this is where I think Arsenal could have won the game. The first game plan played out wonderfully, and in my head I feel like Arsenal wanted to play for that 1-0 draw, right? To have PSG continue knock at the door, knock at the door, knock at the door, and finally and hopefully get something to happen, right? But Mascaro, even though Mascaro does play a good game, he tackles Kvaratskhelia inside the box. He tackles Kvaratskhelia inside the box, and they get a pen, right? I think it was somewhere like, yeah, Kvaratskhelia does him. He's here. I'll probably put a clip up somewhere, but he does him nicely, and he gets the pen. And that's the one thing Arsenal didn't want to get them. They didn't want to get them basically a free shot at the goal. And they got their free shot at the goal 12 yards away. Dembele puts the ball in the back of the net, and now the game is 1-1. And now the game is more of a basketball game. In that second half, that game was so much more of a basketball game where the ball was just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth between both of these teams, right? In that second half, and then in that second half, later in the second half, both teams make subs. PSG sub on Bradley Barcola and Arsenal sub on Victor Gokres, Martinelli, and they bring on Timber after Mascara's incident to lead to a penalty. I think Mascara had a good game, but Mascara was very jumpy in a sense, right? And I think they needed someone more level-headed. And obviously, Mascara is what, 21, I think, where he's not going to be the most prepared for these Champions League games, right? This is his, I think, sixth Champions League game ever, and it's a Champions League final, right? So you bring on a Dutch international, someone that was more calm and composed, and someone that's been a big part of your defense in Timber, to then go one on one technically against Bradley Barcola, whoever's on the left side, because of how the PSG team plays, they are allowed to free flowed movement around the whole pitch, right? In the second half was a basketball game, right? It was basically a basketball game. The ball was just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? It was so different from the first half where Arsenal were in this such a deep block, they and they were allowed to counterattack PSG when PSG was so up on them and so high on them that they had such better opportunities to score in that first half. In the second half, it felt like PSG had every opportunity to score, and and three of the chances in that second half was one from Kvaratskhelia where he hits the post, but the other two land to Bradley Barcola. I love Bradley Barcola. Bradley Barcola is one of my favorite players in the world, but this guy can't finish. That's the one thing about Bradley Barcola that gets me sometimes. Bradley Barcola is a wonderful footballer. He's he's a lanky style dribbler like Rafael Leao, right? He has the technical brilliance to do whatever he wants with the ball, but when it comes to putting the ball in the back of the net, is where the man gets a nosebleed. He doesn't know what to do. Right, in two chances, it's one on one, him and Saliba. Move all these guys out the way. It's one on one, him and Saliba in these same chances, right? And in the dying minutes of the game, it goes and hits, and he misses the goal basically, and just hits the outside netting. The second one, I think, not the second one. The first one was he hit the post. I'll put a clip up somewhere. I'll put a clip of all these Bradley Barcola chances. But those are moments where if Arsenal, if PSG end up losing it, the people are gonna look and say, "Yo, Bradley Barcola," right? But they do get over the line on pens, right? On pens. I'm gonna run. I'm just gonna go through the game and give you a breakdown before I go through individual performances, right? Pens. Pens don't really show, like, pens aren't something where it's like, oh, the better team will always win pens. Pens are luck of the draw. Every single penalty is basically a luck of the draw. But one thing I felt a lot more comfortable with with Arsenal when it came to pens, and it might just be because David Raya, in my opinion, is the best goalkeeper in the world. Whenever David Raya was in goal, he didn't look small in the net compared to uh, Sonov, right? I thought PSG's goalkeeper looked very small in the net compared to David Raya, right? And PSG's goalkeeper at the end of it didn't make a save, and Arsenal's goalkeeper did make a save. The one thing I can say is I think the David Raya penalty, David Raya, the Gabriel Magalhaes penalty. I thought Gabriel Magalhaes played a perfect game. I thought he was the best player on the pitch. But to have him take that last penalty, right? To have Gabriel Magalhaes take that last penalty, and you can be like, oh, and people are saying that Gabriel Magalhaes wanted to take that last penalty, but for him to take that last penalty over my opinion, someone that should have taken that last penalty, Nani Madueke. I thought Nani Madueke should have taken that last penalty. Right? We've all seen the clips, or if you haven't, I'll put it up again. Nani Madueke in that first season with Cole Palmer was generally arguing with Cole Palmer with Nicholas Jackson that said, "Yo, I want to take this pen. Me, I want to take this pen. Me. I want to take it." And in arguably the biggest moment in his career, where he has the option to take a pen, you don't want to fight Gabriel for this one. Maybe he's not comfortable, but yo, bro, if you fought so much to take a pen against Cole Palmer in a Premier League game, why don't you fight against Gabriel to take this pen? Right? And I don't know, maybe or not, but I think Gabriel's pen still gets saved because PSG's goalkeeper does dive the right way. But I think Gabriel's pen gets saved regardless. But Nani Madueke, you should have taken that penalty every day of the week. You should have taken that penalty, in my opinion. Other moments of the game that had quite controversial opinions was early in the first half, Bukayo Saka off a PSG corner. The ball swings in, he tries to clear it, and he kind of kicks, and his arms kind of fling into his body where the ball gets trapped, and no pen is given. And I think that's the right call. I don't think a pen should be given for that instant. Because he's kind of just swinging to get the ball away as quick as he can, and him swinging his arms into his chest and grabbing the ball. I don't think that was an intentful. I don't think that's an intentful move to say I'm going to bring my arms in to stop the ball and then kick it. Right? I don't think that was planned, and I think the ref made the right decision by not giving that a pen. Another controversial moment for Arsenal fans was in the second, no, in the extra time, early in extra time, I think the 101st minute, Nani Madueke versus Nuno Mendes, and I thought Nani Madueke played played great against Nuno Mendes. We haven't seen Nuno Mendes really get beaten a lot, but obviously he plays the whole game, and Nani Madueke gets the better of Nuno Mendes in that moment. And from the back angle or from the wide angle that we normally see, we see Nani Madueke get taken down, right? And instantly, everyone is thinking, this is Arsenal pen. But once we flip the camera around and get the front view, you can see Nani Madueke hit Nuno Mendes with a classic James Harden. If you're an NBA fan, or if you know about James Harden, that's the James Harden move, where you hook a defender's arm or you hook onto a defender's arm and you create the initial contact and then you fall, right? You fall into a foul bait or you force them into fouling you. And I'm so glad that the ref saw that angle and said, "I'm not giving this because Nani Madueke initializes the contract and leads into what's it called, Nuno Mendes to a fall, and that should have never been a pen, and it wasn't a pen, right?" I think that was great officiating. I think today's game or yesterday's game had some of the better officiating in my opinion across the whole Champions League, because I think a lot of the games, especially like the semifinal games and the quarterfinal games, had quite poor officiating, right? From PSG Bayern and Real Madrid by Bayern Munich. I think both Bayern Munich quarterfinal and semifinal games were poorly officiated, and the PSG Liverpool game is poorly officiated as well. But to get at least good officiating in the last game and the most important game was a breath of fresh air, in my opinion. All right, now that we've talked just through the game, let's get to individual players. On each side, my my man of the matches from both teams is Gabriel for Arsenal. Even though he does miss the pen, I think he played a great game to nullify the current Ballon d'Or holder in in Dembele, to hold Kvaratskhelia and to hold Fabian Ruiz and to hold Fabian Ruiz and Vitinha running into the box. I think I think even though Saliba, most people say Saliba is the ball playing center back, right? I think he had a wonderful game today. David Wright didn't really do much. All the shots that came to David Wright, he saved. And in a penalty shooter, obviously, comes to luck. He doesn't get over the line, but David Wright played a good game. I think Mascaro did play a good game, but it's just that Kravitz tackle on a yellow card. I don't know. Maybe there might be something where it's like, oh, you can't give a yellow card in a pen if it's not insanely harsh. But I'm shocked that he was still on the pitch, and we saw it because the second that pen was given, he got dashed off the pitch. He got dashed off the pitch because Arteta knew I need someone with a more clear and level head for these moments right now. Declan Rice played a good game. I think he ate ground as much as he could, and I think he held Vitinha he held Vitinha to a more quiet game. Even though Vitinha did get man of the match, I think he held him to a more quiet game. And Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz is someone that's been here before, right? He's the only Arsenal player that's been in a Champions League final before, and now he's scored in both Champions League finals he's been on. And I think he was the most level-headed player for Arsenal in the whole game, in my opinion. To get to PSG, Patrick, this game wasn't defined by wasn't defined by Barcola Magic, Due, Kai Havertz goal, Declan Rice. It was defined by defenders, and that's why in this game the two best players were Pacho and Gabriel. Strong in his tackles. Obviously, besides the Kai Havertz goal, where you can't really say much to him because he's coming from the other side of the pitch to go and help a, a technical Marquinhos error. He plays well. He was good in his tackles. He was strong. He was demanding. And I don't think he really put a foot wrong the whole game. And he played the whole 112 minutes, and he didn't look off when other fresh legs like Gokares came on the pitch and played against him. And another guy I want to talk about, right? The smaller Vitinha. I'm not going to disrespect him by calling the smaller Vitinha, but João Neves. João Neves was the better Portuguese player today. Simple as. He was the better Portuguese player of the game. Even though Vitinha does get the Champions League man of the match, I feel like a lot of times when PSG do win and there isn't a clear and out someone that played good, I feel like they give it to Vitinha because Vitinha dictates the play. He's the conductor. He's the maestro of this PSG team. And today I thought João Neves was just played better. He was the maestro in this sense. He dropped deep. He was the more impactful player. Because I thought at some points Vitinha was just getting the ball and playing sideways passes, playing lackadaisical, and wasn't really the Vitinha we're used to, right? But today he's gonna get the praise from me at least, even though I'm not the Champions League man of the match committee. Vitinha is my man of the match. Who should have got it? And to cap it off for PSG, Desiree Doué. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, Desiree Doué didn't have a great game," right? A lot of people were questioning Desiree Doué, saying he didn't perform the best. I don't think that. I think he was the best PSG attacker on the pitch in the whole game. Even though Dembele does get the goal, and people be like, "Oh, stats people be like, oh, he got his goal though, so he had to play good." Nah, it wasn't a good Dembele game. It wasn't a good Kvaratskhelia game. It was a very good Dere game. I think Dere played good, even though he doesn't get a goal or an assist or something where stats heads can make an edit about or TikTok people can make an edit about. I think he plays great. He played good. He was their most creative player at times. And in that first half, where they were trying to break down Arsenal, I think he had the best opportunity and he made the best out of every chance that he got. Yeah. But now it's time to get to disappointments in a sense. Arsenal, your captain, Martin Odegaard, 12 touches. It was 12 touches, 6 passes. I don't know if I can't see passes here, but I think it was 12 touches, 6 passes. two passes in final thirds. And people can sit here and try and convince me, oh, he's not this creative midfielder, right? He's a dictator of play, right? He's all this stuff. This is a dictator of play. This guy's a dictator of play. 162 touches. 162. 13 passes in final third. And the thing is, if Martin Odegaard was a guy that came off the bench, it would be a different conversation. Martin Odegaard is your captain, your creative outlet, right? We've seen Martin Odegaard before be a creative outlet, right? The stuff he did with Lacazette, the stuff he did with Aubameyang, right? Even earlier, like a few seasons ago, he was a creative player. People talking about, oh, who's better, him or Bruno Fernandes? That conversation has been shut in the past 2 years. It's not close. Him and Bruno Fernandes isn't a conversation anymore because this guy, he doesn't show up in big games creatively, right? And every important game I've ever seen of Martin Odegaard, he doesn't perform. He doesn't show up. And as a captain, you can't have that. And even as a captain for Arsenal, you can't have that. Where the other people, where he's supposed to be this Dennis Bergkamp type. I'm not saying he's like Dennis Bergkamp, but if Shaq, how about this? If you man of Quinn, Saka, Henry, this guy has to be Dennis Bergkamp. And how about this? Both of those comparisons are awful. They're appalling. And this guy, I don't know. Arteta has to do something. Either you have to change his role, or I'm sorry, Arsenal fans, you gotta get rid of him. You gotta get rid of him because he can't be your captain next year. Give it to Declan Rice. Give it to Gabriel. Give it to Saliba. Give it to someone else. But this guy can't be your captain, right? And to get to what what's the saying? Two cheeks of the same ass, something like that, right? To get to his evil twin, Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka has played in 4 finals in his career, and I want everybody. I don't care if you're an Arsenal fan. I don't care if you're a Saka hater. I don't care about this. Tell me what Saka has done in every single one of those finals. I love Bukayo Saka. I'll say this confidently. Right? I love Bukayo Saka, but I am done with Saka doing nothing and people saying he's world class. I'm done with it. How can Saka be world class where in the most important game of his life, the guy turned back in into what he came into what he first came out as, a left back. The guy came out and turned into a right back. He turned into a right back, right? And one thing that I was screaming and shouting about Saka is all the coaches in the youth, Arteta, all the coaches you have brought you to this moment, but have brought you to the moment, and they can and those fundamental football plays can get you through a game against Burnley, a game against Tottenham, even a game against Man City in the league. But technical brilliance, creativity, right? The thought of, yo, I'm Bukayo Saka, I am good enough where I can make a play and win us this game, get get you a Champions League win, get you a Carabao Cup win, and the guy doesn't show. He doesn't show the courage. Forget the ability. He doesn't show the courage to say, "I am going to rip Nuno Mendes. I am going to rip Nuno Mendes a new one." Right? If Nuno Mendes has the guard to guard me, I'm going to show him that I am the best winger in England. He doesn't do that. He doesn't show confidence. He doesn't show courage. And both of them combined, what was it? Both of them combined 26 touches for my winger. His counterpart, Desiree, 104. Right? Even he had less touches than Trossard. This is supposed to be the franchise. This word gets thrown around a lot. Franchise player, right? In the NBA, your franchise player, your cornerstone, your Wemby's, your John Morant's, your Anthony Edwards. That's your franchise. In the biggest moments, your franchise is what gets you a win. If this is your franchise, the only thing you will ever win is the Prem. Because in individual knockout games where your franchise has to drag you to a win, he's not doing it, right? He is not doing it. And you can be like, oh, but we won the Prem this season. You won the Prem because of 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're losing Champions League finals and you're using Carabao Cup finals and you're using finals because of 1, 2. Right? I'm not gonna sit here and bash on these guys the whole video for the rest of the video, but I do want to talk about what I think changed what I think made the game. The two most important people in this game were Mikel Arteta and Luis Enrique. If I was to grade performances from managers, he got A+. I think Mikel Arteta did the best he could to get his idea through to his players of what he wanted to do and have them execute it. He did it perfectly. He held PSG to 1 goal. Right. I don't know what the XG was, right? To one he held PSG to 1.7 XG and and only them scoring a pen. You have to commend that. You have to commend what Arteta done. Right? And I said this before in the video, but I wanna elaborate on it a little bit more. Arteta's game plan. If you asked Arteta, "Yo, do you think your team played to the game plan you want to?" Yes. Arteta did an A+ performance, but still failed the class. Arteta knew the material, he knew everything about the course, and he still failed. And I can't even look at him and be like, "Yo, bro, this is your fault." No, wonderful, right? The only thing I can say is that I feel like maybe you could have asked your attackers to play a little bit more attacking, right? If we can go back here, if hold on 1 second, let's reset this board. Bang. Maybe asking these four to try and be a little bit more attacking the second the game became 1-1. Because I think when the game became 1-1, he didn't have a plan to where, okay, if we're in a close game, do I want to go for this game or do I want to play for pens? Right? And I think he settled with the safer option and saying, yo, we're just gonna play for pens. But I would have loved for him to say, you know what? I'm going to try and go for this. And he did try, right? He brought on Eze, he brought on Nani Madueke, he brought on Gokres. He subbed out all four forwards. He subbed out all four attackers. But it just didn't feel enough. But I think Arteta has a lot of work this summer to, and a lot of people they gotta go, right? You gotta either let go of people or change people's roles. Does Gabriel have to leave, right? Does Odegaard have to leave? Do you finally buy a left winger, right? I think Rafael Leao is on the market, right? Do you go buy Rafael Leao? Do you get other attackers? Because this is fine. This right here. Let's go back here. This is fine. This is okay. This is perfect. Right? This is fine. Miles Lewis Kelly played good. Even though he didn't normally play midfield, Miles Lewis Kelly played fine. This is the problem. That's the issue. That's the big issue of Arsenal. Right? But the bigger conversation. Now that PSG are now back-to-back Champions League winners, we need to have a conversation about where are they put all time, because we have to. Because some of the greatest teams to ever play this sport are not back-to-back Champions League winners. Barcelona were close. They lost to Inter, lost to Chelsea. They could have been back-to-back Champions League winners, right? Milan with Kaká, Maldini, Nesta, Inzaghi, Crespo, Shevchenko. They're not back-to-back Champions League winners. So many great teams. Barcelona 2015. They're not, MSN Barca isn't back-to-back Champions League winners. One of the greatest attacks we've ever seen in Bayern 2020 are not back-to-back Champions League winners. This PSG team are back-to-back Champions League winners, and they are back-to-back Champions League winners by arguably playing their worst game of the season. And you can be like, oh, they did play their worst game of the season, but to play your worst game and win, you have to commend not only what Luis Enrique has coached, but these players, right? What happens next year if they do go 3 for 3? If they do go Michael Jordan, huh, Kobe Bryant, Real Madrid, back to back to back, we have to stop putting them in all-time conversations. I think they already are in all-time conversation, but I don't think people want to have that conversation yet because it's way too early. Champions League final yesterday, but these guys are going to go down in history, regardless if you want to believe it or not. But that's the whole video. Champions League final, PSG 4-3 on pens. If you did enjoy the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and give me your opinion on the game. Give me your opinion on how Arsenal played, on how PSG played, where you put this PSG team all time. Because we're only here to learn more about ball. That's it.